Princess Velith Soren had conquered planets. She had led armies across burning worlds and frozen moons. She had watched enemy fleets turn to dust under the cannons of her warships. In her 200 years of life, she had never met a species that truly surprised her. Until the humans arrived. She stood on the observation deck of her father's palace, watching the small silver ship descend through the clouds of Kether Prime. The vessel was unremarkable. No heavy armor. No visible weapons. It looked like something a merchant would fly, not a diplomatic vessel representing an entire species. "They call themselves humanity," said Admiral Torvax, standing beside her. He was old, even by Cathari standards, and his green scales had faded to a pale gray. "They discovered faster-than-light travel only 60 years ago. They have colonized 12 worlds. They have no military alliances with any major power." Valith tilted her head, studying the descending ship. "And they requested contact with us? The Kethri Empire? They requested contact with everyone. They seem eager to make friends." The Admiral's voice carried a note of amusement. Their initial transmission used the word peaceful 14 times. The princess felt her lips curl back, showing her teeth. It was not a smile. Among her people, it was a sign of contempt. Desperate, then, or foolish. The Cathari were not a species that valued peace. They stood 12 feet tall, on average. Their scales could stop bullets. Their claws could tear through metal. For 3,000 years, they had expanded through the galaxy, conquering any species too weak to resist them. They had built the largest empire in known space. They had done it through strength. Peace was something the weak begged for. The strong did not need it. The human ship landed on the platform below. Valith watched as the doors opened and the delegation emerged. She had studied the intelligence reports, but seeing them in person was different. They were so small. The tallest among them barely reached her chest. Their skin was soft and pink, completely unprotected. No scales, no shells, no natural armor of any kind. They had flat teeth designed for chewing plants. Their nails were blunt and useless. They moved slowly, carefully, as if afraid of tripping over their own feet. Several of them squinted in the bright sunlight, raising their hands to shield their eyes. "Fragile," Valith murmured. "They look fragile." "They are," Admiral Torvax confirmed. "Our analysts believe a single Cathari warrior could defeat 20 of them in combat. Perhaps more. They have no natural weapons whatsoever." "Then how did they develop space travel? How did they survive long enough to build civilization?" The Admiral shrugged his massive shoulders. "Tools. Cooperation. They are clever, apparently. They build machines to do what their bodies cannot. They work together in large groups to accomplish tasks no individual could manage." He paused. "They are also persistent. Our scouts observed them engaging in strange rituals, running long distances for no apparent purpose, lifting heavy objects repeatedly, striking each other in organized competitions. We believe these are religious practices." Valith watched the humans follow their Cathari escorts into the palace. One of them caught her attention. He was not the tallest or the most decorated. He wore a simple gray uniform with minimal markings. But something about him was different. While the other humans looked around with obvious nervousness, this one walked calmly, his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes moved constantly, studying everything, but his expression remained neutral. "Who is that one?" she asked. "The male in gray." The Admiral checked his datapad. "Commander Marcus Chin. He serves as the security chief for their delegation. Former military. His file says he was something called a special operations soldier before joining their diplomatic service." Special operations? A small unit trained for difficult missions. The humans use them when normal soldiers are not sufficient. Valith studied the human commander as he disappeared through the palace doors. He had looked up at the observation deck just before entering. For a brief moment, their eyes had met. Most species looked away when they met a Kethri's gaze. This one had simply nodded, as if acknowledging an equal, and continued walking. Interesting. Foolish, but interesting. She made her decision. "I will handle the negotiations personally, Admiral Torvax blinked in surprise. Your Highness? These are minor diplomats from a minor species. Surely your time is better spent. I want to understand them. Valeth turned away from the window. A species with no natural weapons that still managed to reach the stars. There must be something we are missing. Some hidden strength our scouts did not discover. She did not truly believe this. The universe was filled with weak species that had achieved civilization through luck or geography. The humans were probably the same of fragile people who had faced no serious predators on their homeworld, allowing them to develop technology without developing strength. But she was curious, and curiosity had always been her weakness. The welcoming ceremony was held that evening. Valeth sat on her throne beside her father, the Emperor, watching the human delegation enter the Great Hall. They walked between rows of Cathari warriors, each one armed and armored, each one towering over the small pink visitors. The human ambassador stepped forward. Her name was Dr. Yuki Tanaka. She was an older female with silver hair and a calm voice. She spoke of friendship between species. She spoke of trade and cultural exchange. She spoke of peace. Valeth barely listened. Her attention kept drifting to Commander Chen, who stood behind the ambassador like a shadow. He was watching the warriors. Not with fear, she realized. With assessment. His eyes moved from weapon to weapon, guard to guard, cataloging positions and distances. What did he think he was doing? Even if he had noticed every warrior in the room, what could he possibly do about them? He was unarmed. He was soft. He was human. After the ceremony, Valeth arranged for the human delegation to be housed in the eastern wing of the palace. It was far from the royal quarters, close to the servants' areas. Some might have called it an insult. Valeth called it practicality. There was no point in wasting prime accommodations on a species that would soon be signing a vassalage agreement. As she walked back to her chambers that night, she passed Commander Chen in the corridor. He was alone, examining a tapestry that depicted a famous Cathari victory. That battle killed 2 million enemy soldiers, Valeth said, stopping beside him. We lost fewer than 10,000. Chen nodded slowly. Impressive logistics. Your supply lines must have been exceptional, she frowned. That was not the response she had expected. Most species saw the tapestry and felt fear. This human saw it and thought about supply lines. You are strange, she told him. Your people are strange. Thank you, Your Highness. She could not tell if he was joking. His face revealed nothing. Valeth walked away, feeling oddly unsettled. There was something about these humans she did not understand. Something her instincts whispered she should pay attention to. She ignored the feeling. They were soft. They were weak. They were no threat to anyone. 3 days later, she would learn how wrong she was. The treaty hunt was the oldest tradition of the Cathari Empire. For 3,000 years, every major diplomatic event had included a demonstration of Cathari power. Foreign delegations would gather in the great arena to watch warriors battle captured war beasts from conquered worlds. It was entertainment. It was intimidation. It was a reminder of what happened to species that opposed the Empire. Princess Valeth had seen hundreds of these hunts. She had participated in several herself. The roar of the crowd, the clash of weapons, the screams of dying beasts, these were the sounds of her childhood. She loved every moment of it. The humans, she suspected, would not feel the same way. She found Commander Chen at the arena entrance on the morning of the hunt. He stood alone, watching the Cathari crowd stream past him. They pushed and shoved, paying no attention to the small, soft creature in their midst. A few laughed at him. One deliberately bumped his shoulder, nearly knocking him down. Chen simply adjusted his footing and continued watching. You should sit with your delegation, Valeth said, approaching him. The common areas can be dangerous for smaller species. I appreciate the concern, Your Highness. His voice was calm, almost flat. I wanted to observe the crowd dynamics first. Observe. She tilted her head. You study us like we are specimens in a laboratory, Habit. He finally looked at her. His brown eyes were steady. Understanding a species helps prevent misunderstandings. Misunderstandings cause conflicts. Conflicts cause deaths. and you wish to prevent deaths. When possible, Valith gestured toward the arena, where workers were preparing the cages. Today, you will see many deaths. War beasts from a dozen worlds. Our finest warriors. Blood will flow like water. She expected him to look uncomfortable, to show some sign of the weakness she knew his species possessed. Instead, Chen simply nodded. I have seen blood before, Your Highness. Something in his tone made her pause. For a moment, just a moment, she saw something behind his calm expression. Something old and cold and very tired. Then it was gone, and he was just a small, soft human again. Come, she said, surprising herself. You will sit in my section. I want to see your reactions. The arena was magnificent. 50,000 Ketheri filled the seats, their roars shaking the stone walls. The emperor sat in the royal box, surrounded by guards and advisors. The foreign delegations clustered in a special section, faces pale as they watched the preparations below. Chen sat beside Valith, his hands resting on his knees. He did not flinch when the first war beast was released, a massive creature called a thornback ravager. It stood 7 feet tall at the shoulder. Its hide was covered in bony plates and sharp spines. Its jaws could crush steel. It weighed over 800 pounds of muscle and fury. The creature charged the warrior facing it. The crowd roared. Valith leaned forward, excited. These ravagers come from a death world, she explained to Chen, a planet where everything evolved to kill everything else. They are considered among the most dangerous creatures in known space. How did your people capture them? With great difficulty. We lost 30 warriors taking these 3. Chen watched the battle below. The Kethari warrior was skilled, dodging the beast's charges, slashing at its legs with his blade. Blood sprayed across the sand. The crowd screamed for more. Your warrior is good, Chen said. His footwork is excellent. Valith blinked. She had expected horror or disgust. She had not expected technical analysis. You know something about combat? A little. The warrior below finally brought down the ravager with a spear through its eye. The crowd erupted in cheers. Servants rushed out to drag away the carcass and prepare for the next fight. Your people do not have traditions like this? Valith asked. Chen was quiet for a moment. We did. Long ago. We called them gladiator games. Men fighting men. Men fighting beasts. Crowds cheering for blood. Paused. We stopped. Why? Did you become too weak for such entertainment? No, he looked at her. We decided that enjoying death was not something we wanted to be. Before Valith could respond, an alarm shattered the air. Red lights flashed across the arena. The crowd fell silent, confused. Then screams began. A massive explosion rocked the lower levels. Valith jumped to her feet, her hand going to her weapon. Through the smoke, she saw shapes moving, large shapes, fast and deadly. Containment fields have failed. Someone shouted. The ravagers are loose. 3 of the war beasts had escaped their cages. They were not in the arena where warriors waited to face them. They were in the corridors beneath the stands, where unarmed civilians and foreign delegates walked. Valith's blood turned cold as she realized where the creatures were heading. The Eastern Wing, the diplomatic quarters, the human delegation. Your people, she said to Chen. They are in the path of the beasts. Chen was already moving. He pushed past her, heading for the exit. His calm expression had not changed, but his movements were different, now faster, sharper, more purposeful. Commander? Valith grabbed his arm. You cannot fight those creatures. They will tear you apart. My people are in danger. He pulled free from her grip with surprising ease. I will not hide while they die. I am sending warriors. How long until they arrive? She checked her communicator. The nearest armed response team was 12 minutes away. The beasts would reach the diplomatic quarters in 3. Chen nodded once, as if confirming something to himself. Then I will buy time. He ran. Valith watched him disappear into the panicked crowd, small, soft figure racing towards certain death. She should have let him go. He was just a human. His species was weak. His death would change nothing, but something made her follow. Call it curiosity. Call it Gilchi had placed his delegation in the Eastern Wing in the path of danger. Call it a strange respect for a creature willing to face impossible odds for his people. She ran after him, her long legs eating up the distance. Around her, Cathari civilians fled in the opposite direction. Warning sirens wailed. Somewhere ahead, she heard the roar of a thornback ravager, and another sound. A human voice, calm, steady, giving orders. She rounded the corner and stopped. The corridor to the diplomatic quarters stretched before her. At the far end, the other human delegates huddled behind a sealed door. Between them and freedom stood Commander Marcus Chen, and in front of him, blocking the corridor, crouched the largest thornback ravager she had ever seen. The beast lunged. Chen did not run, and in that moment, Princess Valith Soren learned that everything she believed about humans was completely, utterly wrong. The thornback ravager was a perfect killing machine. 800 pounds of armored muscle, claws that could slice through starship hulls, jaws strong enough to crush bone into powder. It had killed 30 Cathari warriors during its capture. It had killed 2 more escaping its cage. Now it faced a single human. Princess Valith wanted to scream at Chen to run, but her voice had frozen in her throat. She could only watch as the beast lunged forward, its massive jaws opening wide enough to swallow him whole. Chen moved, not backward, not sideways, forward. He stepped directly into the charge. His right hand shot up, fingers spreading wide. The beast's throat met his palm with a sound like thunder. Then something impossible happened. Chen lifted. The thornback ravager rose off the ground. All 800 pounds of it. Its legs kicked uselessly at empty air. Its claws scraped against nothing. Its roars turned into confused whimpers as it found itself hanging from a single human hand. Valith's mind refused to process what she was seeing. This was not possible. Humans were soft. Humans were weak. A human could not lift something 8 times their own weight with one arm. But Chen was doing exactly that. He held the beast there for a long moment, letting it understand its situation. The creature's eyes were wide with an emotion Valith had never seen in a ravager before. Fear. The predator had become prey. And it knew it, Chen said quietly. He set the beast down, gently, almost carefully. The ravager landed on its feet, trembling. It did not attack. It did not move. It simply sat there, staring at the human who had done the impossible. A second ravager appeared at the far end of the corridor. It saw its companions sitting docile and confused. It saw the small human standing before it. It charged anyway. Chen picked up a decorative stone bench that sat against the wall. The bench weighed at least 300 pounds. Cathari servants used lifting machines to move such furniture. Chen threw it. The bench flew through the air and struck the charging ravager in the chest. The creature crashed to the ground, pinned beneath the weight. It struggled briefly, then went still, unconscious or dead. The third ravager was smarter. It approached slowly, circling, looking for weakness. Its eyes never left Chen. The human watched it calmly, his breathing steady, his posture relaxed. The beast feinted left. Chen did not react. It feinted right. Still no reaction. Finally, it committed to an attack. Leaping high to bring its full weight down on its target, Chen's fist met the creature in midair. The impact made a sound like a bomb going off. The ravager flew backward, crashing against the wall hard enough to crack the stone. It slid to the floor and did not get up. Silence filled the corridor. Valith realized she had stopped breathing. She forced air into her lungs and stepped forward on shaking legs. Behind her, she heard her warriors arriving 12 minutes of running to find the battle already over. Chen stood in the center of the corridor, surrounded by defeated war beasts. He was examining his right forearm, where a shallow cut marked his skin. Blood dripped slowly onto the floor. "One of them scratched me," he said, sounding mildly annoyed. Valith opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "How?" The word came out as a whisper. Chen looked up at her. His expression was still calm, still neutral, as if he had done nothing more remarkable than open a door. "How what, Your Highness? How did you do that?" Her voice rose. "You lifted a thornback ravager with one hand. You threw a stone bench like it weighed nothing. You knocked out a charging war beast with a single punch. Our intelligence said humans were physically weak. Our analysts said one Cathari warrior could defeat 20 of you. Your analysts," Chen said quietly, "were wrong." The sealed door behind him opened. The other human delegates emerged, pale and shaking, but unharmed. Ambassador Tanaka immediately rushed to Chen's side, checking his wound. Speaking rapidly in their native language, Velith's warriors fanned out through the corridor, securing the unconscious ravagers, calling for medical teams and containment units. They moved around Chen carefully, giving him a wide berth. They had seen what he could do. More Cathari arrived. Palace guards, military officers, even members of the Royal Council. They all stared at the human commander with the same expression of disbelief, Your Highness. One of her warriors approached, his voice hushed. "The security recordings, everyone is watching them." Velith felt her stomach drop. Of course, every corridor in the palace was monitored. The entire confrontation had been captured. By now half the planet had probably seen the footage. A human, lifting a war beast. With one hand, she looked at Chen. He was allowing Ambassador Tanaka to wrap a bandage around his arm. Seemingly unbothered by the attention, Commander Chen. Velith stepped closer, her warriors tensing behind her. Was this a deliberate demonstration? Did you arrange the containment failure? Chen met her gaze. No, then why did you reveal your capabilities? You could have hidden with your people behind that door. Let our warriors handle the threat. My people were in danger. He said it simply as if it explained everything. I protected them. But now we know. Now, everyone knows. You cannot pretend to be weak anymore. Chen finished adjusting his bandage. He straightened up and looked at her with those calm brown eyes. Your Highness, we never pretended to be weak. Your people assumed we were weak. That is different. He paused. You saw us and decided what we were without asking, without testing, without truly looking. That is not our failure. That is yours. The words hit Velith like a slap, because he was right. She had looked at soft skin and blunt teeth and decided she knew everything about humans. She had never considered that there might be more beneath the surface. What else had she missed? The negotiations, she said slowly. They will need to change. Yes. Chen nodded. They will. He walked past her, heading toward the medical bay with his delegation. He did not look back. Velith watched him go. Around her, whispers spread like fire. The soft species? The weak humans? One of them had just humiliated the most dangerous predators in the Empire's menagerie. She had wanted to understand humans. She had wanted to find their hidden strength. Now she had found it, and she realized, with growing unease, that she had only seen the beginning. What else could humans do? She was suddenly afraid to find out the video spread across the galaxy and ours. Every news network carried it. Every species watched. The small pink creature, lifting the massive war beast. The casual throw of the stone bench. The single punch that ended the fight. Within a day, it had been viewed billions of times. Within 2 days, diplomats from 100 worlds were requesting information about humans. Princess. Velith watched the reactions from her private chambers, fear, confusion, disbelief. The same emotions she felt reflected across 1,000 alien faces. She needed answers, Ambassador. Tanaka agreed to meet her in the medical bay where Chen was receiving treatment. The wound on his arm had already begun to close, she noticed. The human body apparently healed faster than expected. Your species was classified as physically unremarkable, Velith said, without greeting. Explain, Tanaka smiled. It was a strange expression, not mocking, not afraid. Almost pitying. Your scouts observed humans in specific conditions, she said. Temperate climates. Peaceful activities. Resting states. They saw what we look like when we are comfortable. She pulled out a small device and projected a holographic display. They did not see this. The images made Velith's scales tighten against her skin, a human running across a frozen wasteland. Wearing almost nothing, ice forming on their bare skin. A human diving into crushing ocean depths without breathing equipment. A human climbing a vertical cliff face with only their hands and feet. A human carrying a weight twice their own mass up a mountain. Our homeworld is not a gentle place, Tanaka continued. Earth has deserts that reach temperatures hot enough to boil water. It has polar regions cold enough to freeze blood in minutes. It has mountains so tall the air becomes too thin to breathe. It has oceans deep enough to crush metal. More images. Humans swimming with ocean predators. Humans walking through fire. Humans surviving injuries that seemed fatal. Our ancestors evolved as pursuit predators. We could not outrun our prey. We could not overpower it. So we followed it. For hours. For days. We walked and walked while our targets grew tired and collapsed. We have the highest endurance of any bipedal species ever recorded. We do not stop. Velith looked at Chen, lying calmly on the medical bed. He was watching her, his expression unreadable. Commander Chen, Tanaka said, comes from a region called Tibet. It is high in our mountains where the air holds less oxygen. His people adapted to survive in conditions that would kill most humans. Before joining our diplomatic corps, he served in our Special Forces small units trained for extreme situations. He has operated in environments your scouts would consider unsurvivable. But your skin, Velith said. It is so soft. So unprotected. Our skin heals. Quickly, scars that would mark other species for life fade on humans within years. And beneath that soft skin. Tanaka tapped her arm. Our muscle fibers have a density your analysts apparently never measured. Our bones are flexible enough to absorb impacts that would shatter rigid structures. Our cardiovascular systems can operate at peak efficiency for hours. She changed the display. Now it showed chemical formulas and biological data, consumed substances that would kill most species. Caffeine, capsaicin, alcohol. We call these recreational activities. Our immune systems attack foreign organisms with extreme aggression. We regularly survive diseases that wipe out entire populations of other species. Velith felt her understanding of the universe shifting beneath her feet. Everything she had believed about strength and weakness was being rewritten. If you were so capable, she said slowly, why did you let us believe you were weak? Chen finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but clear. We did not let you believe anything, Your Highness. You believed what you wanted to believe. We showed up and talked about peace. We showed up and asked for friendship. You saw our soft skin and decided we were prey. He sat up on the medical bed, meeting her eyes. Humans learned a long time ago that strength is not the only form of power. We nearly destroyed ourselves. Several times, wars that killed millions. Weapons that could have ended our entire species. We built machines that could poison our world for generations. He paused. We survived, barely, and we learned something important. What? That being able to destroy is not the same as being powerful. True power is having the ability to destroy and choosing not to. He looked down at his hands. We could have arrived here with warships. We could have demonstrated our capabilities immediately. We could have demanded respect through force. Why didn't you? Because that path leads to ruins. We have walked it before. We know where it ends. He looked up again. We chose peace not because we are weak. We chose it because we are strong enough to make that choice. Velith stood in silence, processing his words. Her entire life, she had measured strength by conquest, by dominance, by the ability to destroy enemies. This human was suggesting something different, that true strength might be measured by what you chose not to destroy. Your people, she said finally. You keep war beasts as companions. For the first time, she saw Chen smile. It transformed his face, making him look almost gentle. We call them dogs. We took wolf-pack predators with sharp teeth and strong jaws and made them our friends. We did the same with horses, with elephants, with dozens of species that could have killed us. We did not conquer them. We partnered with them. You formed alliances with animals? With everything we could? Humans have very few natural weapons. So we made allies. We made tools. We made plans that stretched across generations. We survived by being clever and stubborn and absolutely unwilling to give up. Tanaka stepped forward. Your empire has conquered 60 systems through force. You have made enemies of every species you have dominated. When you grow weak, and all empires eventually grow weak, those enemies will remember. She looked at Valeth with those strange, soft human eyes. Humanity wants something different. We want partners. We want trade and culture and shared knowledge. We want relationships that benefit everyone. Not because we cannot fight, she glanced at Chen, but because fighting costs more than cooperation. Valeth looked at the holographic display, still showing images of human capability. Frozen wastelands, crushing depths, burning deserts, and through all of it, the small pink creatures, surviving, adapting, persisting. You could be a threat to us, she said quietly. If you wanted, yes, Chen nodded. We could, but we do not want to be your enemy, Your Highness. We want to be your friend. He extended his hand, the same hand that had lifted a thornback ravager like it weighed nothing. The question is, what do you want? Valeth stared at that offered hand. Soft skin, blunt nails. So harmless in appearance, so deceiving, she reached out and took it. The treaty negotiations began again 3 days later. But everything had changed. Princess Valeth no longer sat on a raised platform looking down at the human delegation. She sat across from them at a round table at equal height, face to face. Her father had questioned this arrangement. She had simply shown him the video of Commander Chen. Lifting the Ravager, the Emperor had not asked any more questions. Ambassador Tanaka presented humanity's proposals. Trade agreements, scientific exchange, cultural partnerships, military cooperation. It was everything the humans had originally requested, before Valeth had dismissed them as future vassals. We are prepared to share our medical technologies, Tanaka said, our agricultural methods, our energy systems. In exchange, we would like access to your faster-than-light communication networks and your historical archives. Why archives? Valeth asked. We want to learn. Your empire has existed for 3,000 years. You have made mistakes we can avoid. You have achieved victories we can study. Knowledge is more valuable to us than territory. Strange priorities. A month ago, Valeth would have called it weakness. Now she recognized it as something else. Wisdom, perhaps, or patience. The humans thought in long terms, planning for futures that lay generations ahead. There is another matter, Tanaka continued. We understand that several species within your empire have expressed interest in contact with humanity. We would like permission to establish diplomatic relations with them as well. Those species were conquered people's vassals of the empire, allowing them direct contact with. An outside power was dangerous. It might give them ideas, but Valeth thought about what Chen had said. About empires growing weak, about enemies remembering. We will discuss it, she said finally. The negotiations continued for weeks. Every session brought new surprises. The humans had technologies the Cathari had never considered. They had solutions to problems the Empire had struggled with for centuries. And they offered everything freely, asking only for partnership in return. Word spread through the palace. The soft species was not so soft after all. Servants whispered about the human commander who had defeated 3 war beasts. Guards told stories about human endurance and human healing and human stubbornness. Even the warriors began speaking of humans with respect instead of contempt. One evening, Valeth found Commander Chen alone in the palace gardens. He was standing beside a fountain, watching the water fall. You come here often, she said. It is peaceful. He did not turn around. Your gardens are beautiful. We have nothing like this on our ships. She moved to stand beside him. They watched the water together in silence. I placed your delegation in the servants' quarters, she said finally. I dismissed your species as future vassals, I was arrogant and wrong. Yes. His bluntness startled a laugh out of her. A real laugh, not the sharp hiss of mockery she usually made. You are not going to spare my feelings? You do not need your feelings spared. No. Chen finally looked at her. You need accurate information. Wrong assumptions made you dangerous before. Correct information makes you a better leader. A better leader. She considered the words. My people have always led through strength, through conquest, through fear. How has that worked? She thought about it. The rebellions. The constant military presence required to maintain control. The resources spent on subjugation instead of development. The enemies created with every victory. It has worked, she admitted, but it has cost us much. There is another way. A way. He shrugged. Partnership instead of domination. Cooperation instead of control. It is not perfect. Nothing is perfect. But it tends to cost less in the long term. Valeth looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 12 human colony worlds were building and growing and learning. No conquered peoples. No vassal states. Just humans working together, making allies wherever they went. Why did you become a diplomat? She asked. You were a warrior. A soldier. Why change? Chen was quiet for a long moment. I was very good at war, he said finally. I was trained to fight, to kill, to survive things that should have killed me. And I did all of those things many times. His voice grew softer. But every time I fought, I saw the cost. The dead, the wounded. The families destroyed. The futures erased. He looked at his hands. I decided I wanted to build futures instead of destroying them. So I learned a new skill, diplomacy. He smiled slightly. It turns out the skills are not so different. Understanding your opponent, finding weaknesses, applying pressure at the right moment. The goal is just different. Instead of destroying your opponent, you make them your friend. When possible, yes. Valeth nodded slowly. She understood now. Humans were not peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they understood the cost of war better than anyone. They had looked into the darkness inside themselves and chosen to walk away from it. That took a different kind of strength. The treaty will be signed tomorrow, she said. Full partnership. Mutual defense. Cultural exchange. My father has agreed. Good. There is something I want to say to you first. She turned to face him fully. My people have a saying, the sharpest blade hides in the dullest sheath. Chen raised an eyebrow. I think humanity is the sharpest blade the galaxy has ever overlooked. You appear soft. You appear weak. You talk about peace and friendship and cooperation, but beneath that surface lies something harder than anything my people have ever faced. She reached out and took his hand, the same hand that had lifted a war beast, the same hand that had ended lives in battle, now wrapped in soft pink skin and offered in friendship. I am glad you choose to be gentle, she said quietly. I hope the galaxy never forces you to be otherwise. Chen squeezed her hand gently. So do we, Your Highness. So do we. The treaty was signed the next morning. The human delegation departed that afternoon, their silver ship rising into the clouds of Kether Prime. Valeth watched from the observation deck. Just as she had watched them arrive, everything was different now. She was different. She had looked at humans and seen weakness. She had been completely, utterly wrong. They were not weak. They had simply chosen to be kind, and that she now understood was the most terrifying thing of all. Because kindness was a choice, and choices could be changed. She returned to her father's council with new recommendations. The empire would change. Not immediately, not easily, but it would change. They would learn from the humans. They would build partnerships instead of empires. They would create friends instead of enemies. It would take time, generations perhaps, but humans had taught her something important. The patient predator, the one that never stopped, the one that kept walking while its prey collapsed. The predator always won in the end. The Cathari would learn patience, and perhaps, someday, they would be worthy of the friendship humanity offered. The soft species. The weak species. The species that had changed everything. Valeth smiled as the human ship disappeared among the stars. Not a hiss of mockery this time. A real smile. She had a lot of work to do.